Welcome to Inside 50, the premier debate show for the AFL. My name is Stuart Sterling, and I'm going to be your host today. We have a jam-packed episode full of star-studded guests. We have UCAT, WA Footy prospects, Jack and Jamarley. They will be taking on a debate and a Shark Tank. We're calling it Shank Tank. And of course, I'm going to be giving my hot take next. So the hot take of the day is that statistics, we don't have enough of them as fans. Champion Data have been hiding them from us for way too long. We don't have access to any of the advanced metrics that other codes use. The NFL, the NBA, soccer, the round ball, many other sports that have advanced statistics ready to go at all times for all fans. That way, the fans can think about the sport a bit deeper, they can be a bit more knowledgeable about the sport, and of course, they can appreciate the on-field success better. AFL haven't been doing this. AFL are a traditionalist sport with traditionalist stats. Yes, they're sort of creeping into day-to-day discussions, but we don't know which players cause the most damage. We see which players have the most disposals, what their efficiency is. No one knows what the efficiency is. Champion Data come out and tell us every couple of years, but they don't really give us much. Champion Data have been hiding all the statistics behind a multi-million-dollar paywall, and sometimes they'll get a representative to hop on SEN with Kane Corns and go through the top 10 players at each position every month or so, and it's just not good enough. They don't give us a reason as to why, they don't give us the formula as to how they get these numbers and make these rankings. They don't tell us why different players are ranked elite. They can't provide information to the fans that we seek. They put on broadcasts for Fox Footy and Channel 7. They have statistics for them, and they feed them stats during live games. And as fans, I would love to know all the stats for my team. Which players have the highest pressure rating? What are their pressure acts? What's the heat map say? At what different parts of the ground are they most influential? Which players cause the most damage? What's the average score average score per disposal on a player? How many points is a guy averaging per game? How many points is a guy saving per game? The AFL doesn't have any advanced metrics, and it could ruin the game if it doesn't catch up soon enough. So many data analysts work for the NBA, for the NFL, for each specific team as well, and I feel like there needs to be an easier, lower barrier for entry for the AFL. Champion Data only sells to big companies, and they only work with bigger ones. So I think this is a problem that needs to be addressed within the next few years. I need to know which players are performing the best. I need to know why they're performing the best. I need to know why certain players aren't in the team, why certain players are in the team. Is this player super underrated? And on top of this, the AFL are hiding more stuff from us than ever. The weights of players, gone. Contracts of players, we sort of know, but the AFL won't tell us, and I get it. They're not being paid enough to be publicly criticized based on the amount of money they're making. But this, at the end of the day, is pro sport. It's the biggest pro sport in the country. We as fans need to know if our team are getting enough value for the player that we just signed. Is our team making the correct decisions on off the field? Like, is a guy who's earning a bunch of money not playing? These are important topics for us fans to know. It will increase fandom, it will increase fan knowledge, and it will increase the product of the game. This is just something that needs to be addressed ASAP. And, Andrew Dillon's in now, so hopefully we can see a few changes, but that is my hot take of the week. In this segment, we are going to be having a debate, and in front of me, I have two of the best debaters that I could find on my own. I know resources were slim. These guys are right down the bottom of the pecking order, but they're going to be debating today, and their topic is the best rivalries in the AFL and its history. And first up, we have Jack Quaden.
Yes, hello. That's the nickname.
Hello, welcome to the show, Jack. Tell us, what is your side?
Personally, I believe that the Collingwood and Carlton are the biggest and the best rivalry in the competition. That's what I believe.
And why is that, Jack? Give me your points.
Well, there's a lot of reasons. Where do you want me to start, really? I mean, one, oldest rivalry in the probably in Australian sports, I couldn't tell you, another rivalry as old as Collingwood versus Carlton. Two of probably the biggest clubs in the competition as well. That makes them, pretty big. Hold on, let me look at my notes on my phone. I think it's fun seeing, wogs fight against each other. A lot of Italians in the suburbs. It gets heated, and they're very passionate about their sports, regardless of what sport it is. And they also play at the MCG, biggest ground in Australia, packs out pretty much without question whenever those two teams play. And yeah,
is that your argument? Your full argument?
Pretty much.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you.
I could freestyle some more, but I think I'll leave it at that for now.
Okay, well, that leaves us to Jamarly, the man, the myth, the legend. Jamarly, tell us about your side of this debate.
Alright, well, my side of this debate, the big rivalry in the AFL is the showdown. For those who don't know who contests that match, it's Adelaide versus Port Adelaide, the two South Australian teams. So, the first time that they played each other was in 1997 at Football Park. Adelaide entered the AFL a few years before Port Adelaide and were heavily favoured to win this match. However, Port Adelaide upset the Crows, and during the week up to a showdown over in Adelaide, that's the main topic that everyone who lives in Adelaide talks about. And a lot of the showdowns often do have close results. For example, Jordan Dawson kicking the goal after the siren in round 2022, to hand the Crows a 4-point win. That was the first time in showdown history that a match was decided by a goal after the siren. And one for the Port fans watching out there, round 8 2018, when Stephen Motlow kicked the winning goal with 20 seconds left to hand Port a 5-point win. And although the match itself isn't something to really talk about, but these two teams are one of only two interstate rivalries that have played each other in a final. The week leading up to the final in 2005, it was a semi-final. The anticipation in South Australia was unprecedented. Everyone was talking about it. And I think the matches are very high quality. And also, regardless of where the teams are on the ladder, in terms of like underdogs and favourites, etc., it does not matter. With that many upsets in the showdown. And also, each team, Crows and Port Adelaide, have 27 wins each against each other. So in terms of the intrastate rivalries, the showdown is the closest in terms of the ledger.
Okay, that was a good argument, Jamarly. Jack, it's back to you for a final rebuttal. Is there anything that you can say to put your argument over the top?
I would like to bring up a game which has a special place in my heart. It was 2022, not last year anymore. I forgot what round it was. It was the last round of the season. I can't forget I think it's round 23. I think it's probably one of the best games of footy I've ever watched. Two rival teams going at it, and I think Collingwood knocking Carlton out of the finals with a minute to go, especially considering the circumstances as well. I know that game doesn't solely make it the better rivalry, but I think personally, that's why the rivalry is so good, because moments like that can happen.
Okay, Jar, do you have a rebuttal for that?
My rebuttal is before that match, round 23, 2022, Collingwood and Carlton. My rebuttal is that the rivalry wasn't that good for 5, 6, 7 years leading up to that because of how bad Carlton were on the ladder. Therefore, the matches in that period before that match were not as close compared to the showdown, where like most of the matches are close, regardless of how each team is doing.
Well, I think the season before Carlton were doing better than Collingwood, so you're wrong there, mate.
It was one season, that period where Carlton did better than Collingwood.
Yeah,
Even
still,
though both times they played each other, it wasn't really close matches in that season.
no, but I think you got to think about the atmosphere of those games, regardless of the scoreline for those games. Yeah, I think there was always an incredible atmosphere, and
during a showdown,
meh, I've seen
you
better.
don't-
I've seen
you don't-
better. I've seen better.
Okay, let me finish. You don't
Okay, go
know
on.
what to expect during a showdown because so many times, the team that was considered the underdog has won.
Well,
You know what I mean? Like,
no, I don't.
look at last year. Port Adelaide finished top 4, right? Adelaide finished outside the 8. Both showdowns were won by Adelaide last year, and both times they were the underdogs.
Yeah, but Port Adelaide aren't big. Sorry, my cat's. There you go. Cat's made an appearance. What have you got to say? Okay.
All right, we gotta wrap this part up. Jack, what's your final last words? Why should we think you've won this debate?
Because it's just better. They're the two biggest clubs in the competition, in the biggest footballing state, and everything's just better in Melbourne. Even though, yeah. Well, he's bloody ruining my bloody argument. I think Jamali's won. Look, what is happening?
Okay.
For fuck's sake.
Ja, what's your final statement?
I think my final statement on why I think I've won this debate is because I think, like, hang on, my final debate
He's
is
nervous.
Jack.
He's fumbling. He's fumbling.
Hang on. Jack commented on a lot on like the atmosphere and like how old the rivalry is. Where with the showdown it is newer and better. Jack didn't talk about the match results and all that. And Port and Crows players, like especially back in the day when the showdown first started, they actually hated each other's guts. I can recall after one showdown in 2002, where it was just by chance. Some of the players met at a pub over in Adelaide after the match. It was a Saturday night match, and a brawl started. I don't see that with Collingwood and Carlton players.
Well, I'd like to rebuttal that actually.
I don't know. I don't think we got time for that anymore. That was the final statement. Okay, so that is your guys' debate over. In my opinion, the biggest rivalry in the AFL in the game right now is Kane Corns and long-term contracts. Bloody Kane hates them in the media every single day. Oh, this long-term contract not gonna work. Worst thing ever. So stupid. No, Kane. Shh. But that's just my thoughts. Anyways, we have some people waiting in the wings. We're going to decide through a vote who won this and who's going to be our episode 1, our champion, our reigning champion of the debates. We are adding WA Footy Prospects and UCAT. Boys, how do you think they went?
Okay, I'll speak first. So Jack got off to a strong start, just sort of noting down all the points that everyone knows and just laying out there. But I think Jamali was more compelling and like he went in more detail on his points. So I think slightly edging towards Jamali in terms of his presentation. But I do like Jack's point about the two wogs of Collingwood and Carlton just fighting over each other.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
That's a very strong point.
I like that.
Yeah, I thought that also stuck out for me from Jack's argument. I thought his points at the start were really, really strong compared to Jamali's, and I thought Jamali sort of just started going through the Showdown's Wikipedia, to be honest, and just started yapping. But after a while, I thought Jamali made a really strong point to end the debate about the fight in the pub. I don't see Collingwood and Carlton players doing that, so I thought it was a really strong full stop at the end from Jamali, but I thought it was actually pretty even in general.
Okay. Well, I liked the debate from both of you, but Chris, who are you voting for to win this debate?
Oh, I think if I had to like either watch either sort of rivalry, probably I might want to at least probably lean towards Collingwood Carlton, just because I think watching footy at the MCG, you'll see it packed week in, week out. I think that's probably make a little bit more of a bigger atmosphere than the showdown. Just in my own opinion, I haven't seen too many showdowns compared to the Magpies Blues clashes, so I think just heading towards sort of that way.
So one vote for Jack to start. You, Kat?
I think the matches in themselves are pretty close. I'd personally rather sit down and watch a Collingwood Carlton match, but I think off pure argument's sake, I'm going to give my vote to Jamali.
Ooh, so it's tied at 1-1. I thought both of you did a fantastic job. Jamali seemed a bit more prepared, but Jack had a bit more of heart in his argument, I felt. Jack made a great point about the Wogs fighting each other. We love that in Australia. We love watching that happen. But the bar fight at the end from Jamali, that was a great point as well. And for that reason, I'm going to have to give the win to Jamarly Cole, who is now 1-0 in the Inside 50 debate show. Well done, Ja. How do you feel? Post-game speech. Give it.
Well, I'm honoured to win the debate against Jack. Although, Jack, you did a very good job.
Thank you. You too,
debate.
mate.
Honestly, I thought you did a very good job. I just think my final statement at the end got me over the line. But you did a very good job, mate.
Well done, Jack. I'm sure you'll be back. I'm sure both of you will be back, Jamali to defend that title and Jack to earn it again. But we are going to cut to the next segment now, which there's two men below who are going to compete in the very first episode of Shank Tank. Welcome to Shank Tank. This is a game show where two people, we have Chris and UCat over here, they are going to pitch me their football ideas to do with the AFL, and I'm going to pick which one to invest in. First of all, we have got Chris from WA Footy Prospects. You can find him on Instagram. He covers all the WA Footy Prospects, from the PSA, the waffle, everything you need to know about your WA Footy Prospects. Go to this guy's Instagram page. Chris, welcome back to the show. You were just a judge a second ago. Why don't you tell us about this pitch?
Thanks, Stu. So this is my, not segment, but I think this is my time to shine. And I want to change something. Change needs to be made in the AFL. And I believe, after watching countless drafts, just watching as a spectacle, and also as someone who sort of works in that department of like pathway development, change needs to be made. It's not great at the moment. It's not a good spectacle. It's not a good system. So I propose to change this current drafting system in the AFL. I'm not changing the draft's entirety of how it runs, but I think there's certain aspects I want to change. So there's 3 aspects I've noted down, and these I want them changed, and I want them to be made now. Hopefully this year. So my first point, I want to change the next generation academy rules. I want that protected zone of top 40 to be cut in half to the top 20 now.
I like it.
My second point, I want to change the duration from night 2, because from night 1 to night 2, every round is 5 minutes. That's too long. Night 1 can be still at 5 minutes, but I want night 2 to be cut down to 3 minutes. Better spectacle and better for clubs just to do their work. And lastly, this is the one that probably would take the most amount of change, because I think the other 2 can be easily implemented. But this one is like sort of to be tinkered, I think that's something that the AFL should look into, and that is changing the rules for Northern Academy and father-son selection bids in the top 20. Whichever players in future drafts are going to be taken in that range, changes are needed. And I propose that in order to match a bid for these players, clubs will need to require to use an equivalent 10 selection range pick to match that. And what I mean by that is basically, if a player is taken in the top 10 of any draft, the club requiring to match that bid will require a pick in between 11 to 20. And if a player is bidded on in pick 11 to 20, a pick will be required from a range of 21 to 30. So those are the main points I wanted to address.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so that's the baseline of your pitch. Okay, so from my perspective, I see the draft as this really complicated thing that casual fans don't really understand, with all these points and all these systems and academy this, NGA that. We don't know what the rule is year to year. It always changes. How are you going to keep these fans interested in the draft when people don't understand it? I know you said the 3 minutes on the night 2, that's going to boost ratings, but just generally as a rule to make sure everyone sort of knows what's going on.
I think it's mainly just those sort of individual components of the draft where for some clubs it might be present for them, but not others. So example is like what I said, the Next Generation Academy. Before, in years gone by, from I think 2015 to 2020, any Next Generation Academy player taken at the first round could be matched by their clubs. But from then on, each year the sort of protector zone has increased that range. So in 2021, we saw that top 20 zone introduced. So no clubs can match a bid in there. And then from 2022 until currently, it's the top 40. So I think it's those kind of rules where it hurts the draft as a spectacle, and also for clubs, because I noted down as a reason why this needs to change, because clubs are going to lose incentive to invest their money and resources in developing these players. And these players come from generally a sort of indigenous or multicultural background where they probably might not have the same sort of influence for, say, a kid living in Metro Perth or Adelaide or any other metropolitan area. That's the purpose of the academy. And we want to make sure that these clubs are probably going to get some of their incentive back, get it worth. So I think in last year's draft, 4 players were taken in that top 40, but their club couldn't match their bids. So Lance Collard taken at pick 28, West Coast Next Generation Academy member. Mitch Edwards, pick 32, Fremantle Next Generation Academy member. 2 GF, Hawthorn Academy member, went to Collingwood, and Lamont Lowell from the Western Bulldogs actually ended up at Essendon. So we want to sort of help those clubs sort of just aid them in just reaping their rewards. Because I think, in my opinion, a lot of the interstate clubs sort of have to like benefit from these type of things, because most of the Victorians, they have that history of just like the father-son. So that's probably their leg up. So the interstate clubs probably need their leg up as well.
Okay, so a focus on parity in the draft and parity for the interstate clubs to match the father-son. I like it. I like it a lot. Thank you, Chris, for the pitch. We're going to swap over, and now it is UCAT's turn to pitch. UCAT, of course, owns the YouTube channel of the same name. How's the YouTube channel going, UCAT?
Been off for about 3 months now, mate, but I'm looking to get right back into it very, very soon. And I'm pumped to be here, but I know this pitch will be very, very tough coming up against someone of Chris's stature.
Well, give me the pitch then, UCAT. Tell me what you've got.
Well, I think there needs to be a shake-up in the Australian football broadcasting world. So, in Australia, when you think of Aussie rules footy, you think of, after a long, hard week, settling down onto your couch to dabble into a bit of Friday night footy. It's weekly the most sought-after day on the footy schedule. We all love Friday night footy, but just imagine you finish watching the final game on a Sunday, but you've still got one more blockbuster Monday night game to be played. Weekly, Monday Night Football in the US for the NFL is the most watched telecast of the night across all networks of any program in the country. It's what the fans look forward to after a long day of work on a Monday, and people pack the stadiums at all costs. Monday Night Football in the NFL makes up for over 15% of the weekly NFL TV numbers. Now, in the UK, last year, Sky Sports' telecast of Monday Night Football in the Premier League peaked its numbers for the first time in 20 years, and Weekly is the most looked forward to program for any English football fan. There's hard debate with controversial pundits, but it all ends with a top-notch game of football and brilliant entertainment. If the AFL can do what they've done with the Friday night football telecast and bring it to a Monday, this would just completely change the landscape of mainstream footy broadcasting. Bringing a fixture weekly to Monday also provides no overlap of any games, giving each game in the round its own time slot, so you don't miss a single second of footy. There's a large sample size worldwide on why Monday Night Football is the regular season pinnacle of most sports. It's now the AFL's time to shine in the unique time slot.
I like it. I like it a lot. I'm glad you mentioned the time slots and none of the overlapping time slots, because I hate that. I hate when the matches interlock like that. But on Mondays, that's going to be a stress for a club. How are we going to manage the club's facilities, the flights, all that sort of stuff? In COVID, we had the bubble. Are potentially teams from interstate going to spend longer interstate in Melbourne, in other states? How is that going to work logistically? And yeah, how's that going to go logistically, UCAT?
Well, I think the AFLPA and the fixturing department, they work together really, really well to ensure the players and the coaches, the staff, the whole football club in general, have enough of a break game to game, week to week, to make sure that the players going out on the park and the coaches doing their work behind the scenes are both at the pinnacle of their talent. And I think there just needs to be a really, really tight connection between the two departments to make sure that there's no quality loss in this, because financially this is a massive boost for the AFL, but you can't lose your roots in making sure that the players' welfare is at the top of the priority list.
Okay, and earlier mention in the debates was the theme of atmosphere. And Monday Night Football, I'm not sure how many people will get out to Monday Night Football. What sort of games are you putting on? Big blockbusters or little ones that can be watched on TV?
Well, I think the AFL need to be gutsy with something like this. I mentioned the sample size of the NFL and the Premier League overseas, it being a remarkable success, and I think they need to be gutsy by putting the big Victorian clashes, the big local rivalries on the Monday night stage and hoping for packed out crowds week after week, game after game, and really going after what could be a massive boost for the AFL in the long term.
Okay, that is a very nice pitch, UCAT. So, we have Chris and the draft overhaul, and UCAT and Monday Night Football. Boys, you both did awesome pitches, but I'd like to hear what you guys thought of each other's pitch.
Okay,
is there any improvements you could make? Yeah,
I
go
think
for it.
Just for UCAT's point, I think I like the idea of having just more footy, just purely as a footy fan. You just want more of the stuff. But as you're going to Stu's point, just about logistically, about how to actually implement that, it's pretty hard to implement something, adding more games to to the season already when we've had an extra round added because of gather round. So having sort of another game during that week, it probably would impact the players in their recovery. Already when we're playing possibly a Thursday night, a Friday night, Saturday, Sunday week, so that's four days in a week. You add Monday, that's 5. And then we'll obviously, like I said before, impact the players like recovery and stuff like that, when it's already been impacted by a shortened preseason with the added round of gather round.
Well, I think week after week basis, the AFLPA and the fixturing department, they need to work together to ensure that the Monday night teams, if they're two big teams playing against each other, put those two teams playing on the Sunday, and you can both make them a Channel 7 time slot. You can take one away from the Saturday. You can work together with the broadcasters as well. I think it's going to be one whole big operation from a lot of different parties to make sure that this is a success. And I think if the Monday night teams each week play on a Sunday the next week, I think that would work really well. I think a 6-day break is more than enough, and I just think there is a way to make this work, and I think the positives really outweigh the negatives.
Okay. So
Yeah,
it's
I
time
agree.
to decide. Oh, sorry,
quickly.
Chris, you go. Yeah, go for it, boys.
No, it was just going back on that point of you said about sort of the week after them playing a Monday night. It's like you have to have like a minimum of like a 6-day break, because already in the AFL, the AFLPA has introduced that clubs every year can have a maximum of 2 5-day breaks. So if you're playing last week, you play on a Saturday, but then you're playing on a Thursday. So it's obviously allowing that club to have the adequate recovery and also match preparedness to go into next week. So yeah, it has to be a big discussion point to implement Monday Night Footy.
Yeah, and quickly on Chris's take, I knew this would be a tough thing to win, and it's proved to be, because I can't lie, I'm not the draft guru that Chris definitely is, and I think Stu partially is. I didn't understand most of what Chris said, but he said a lot of big words, and I've got to give him props for that. I think most of what he said made sense to a casual draft fan like me. I'm not totally clued up on that space, but I think most of what he said in terms of the system needing an overhaul, it made sense for the most part.
Okay, decision time. Look, you both presented great arguments. I'd actually, if it was up to me, I'd have them both. I think you both make great cases for it. UCAT with the, or over on this side, UCAT with the examples of Monday night sport working everywhere else in the world. Why isn't Australia doing? What's going on? And then Chris, the draft overhaul as well. I think that is a very important aspect of the game that needs to be reworked, because a lot of fans don't understand how the draft works, and it's too complicated with all these points and live trading and bids and all that sort of floating around. So I think both would be fantastic additions to the AFL, but I think we need to fix what is broken before we add something new. And for that reason, Chris, I'm investing in your idea. I think we need to fix the draft systems. I've thought this for a very long time, and you explained it very well. And you have a great idea for the draft. So thank you very much, Chris. UCAT unlucky. Get him next time. But yeah, Chris takes the cake with this one. Anything you got to say to the audience now, Chris?
Well, we've got to give props to UCAT, because I think his idea is generally something that the AFL should be looking forward to. It's not like something revolutionary, but it's something that to help promote the game. And if they really want to a national or like an overseas audience, so I think the AFL should be looking into that as well.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you, boys, for pitching. That is the end of Shank Tank. Almost forgot the name. First episode. Cut me some slack. Thank you so much for watching this episode of Inside 50. You can find us on all social platforms at Inside 50 AFL. If you want to be part of a future video, just make sure to DM me on whatever social media platform you have got. I would love to have you on. And thank you very much for watching.